Good morning. This is the Focus on Parliament show on Civic Space TV, brought to you by the Centre for Constitutional Governance. I am Kwagala, your host. Today, we spotlight the incendiary and celebratory remarks made by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, in Rengo District, where she brazenly glorified the evil practice of corruption. On today's edition of Focus on Parliament, we examine the implications that these remarks could have on the ability of Parliament as a whole to effectively discharge its constitutional mandate. But also, we examine the possibility of the Speaker continuing to serve in her high office as the chief spokesperson and chairperson of Parliament. I am now joined by a panel of distinguished personalities who I now have the pleasure and the honor to introduce to you, our esteemed viewers. Starting from my immediate left is Mr. Joseph Tahinduka from the Centre for Policy Analysis and the Parliament Watch. Joseph, you are most welcome to the program. Say hello to the viewers.
Thank you. Good morning to all of us. We look forward to a conversation on what is inspiring this public celebration of sin or of corruption, if we want to use big words. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joseph, for joining us. Next to Joseph is Winfred. They had hijacked her off the program, but glad she's now back. Yeah.
She's from prison?
No, she will tell us. But she was featuring on one of our other programs.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Winfred is a leader in the civic space. She heads a civil society organization called Rights for Her that focuses on women empowerment. Winfred, you're most welcome to the program. Say hello to the viewers.
Good morning, our viewers. I'm happy and to be here on this show. No one can hijack me. And thank you for listening to us. Thank you for trusting Civic Space TV. And thank you for always sparing your time. I'm happy to be here with you again, all of you.
Thank you. We're also glad that you're back. And of course, last but not least, is the gentleman from Parliament, who also is a lead of our watchdog, the Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, Mr. Apollo Tusiime. Mr. Apollo is a journalist, but also a very keen observer of the events as they happen in the country, in contemporary politics, economics, and the social realm. Apollo, you're most welcome to the program. Say hello to the viewers.
Good morning, and it's always a pleasure being at Civic Space TV. Greetings from Uganda Parliamentary Press Association. I always would want to make a disclaimer that parliamentary press, we are not employees of Parliament. We are only accredited to cover Parliament and the daily proceedings in Parliament. I am always pleased to be part of this panel, and here I represent my personal views, not the views of Uganda Parliamentary Press or its leadership. I'm happy to be back again.
Thank you, Apollo, for joining us. Joseph, let me start with you, but firstly, let me provide some context to the viewers. The event in focus is a recent Thanksgiving, or I think a launch of one of the initiatives of a local MP in Rengo, where the speaker was invited, and she went with a contingent of other parliamentarians. The event coming against the backdrop of several arrests and arraignment in court of some members of parliament over corruption-related allegations. Now, the speaker, in her remarks, she said that the president is like a father who listens to an insolent or errant child and later pardons them. But she qualified her statement by saying that this shouldn't be a very big concern for the electorate, given that the embattled honorable member of parliament representing Rengo, the woman MP, Cici Namuju, has been sharing proceeds of corruption with the voters. So these are the remarks that we are interrogating on today's program. And Joseph, I want to really want to ask you to help us. Now, these remarks coming against the backdrop of a renewed campaign by the president to stamp out corruption from the government as a whole, but particularly from parliament. What do you make out of this?
Three things. The first is that the president has constitutional power to hold the following agencies to account. Any member they appointed, any member who was appointed or who leveraged the popularity of his political party, he has the power to hold parliament to account, and recently he has pushed back the appropriation bill back to parliament. He can hold the judiciary to account constitutionally. In the office of the presidency, there is a lot of power to hold very many people to account. But then the question in this situation is, why is it that he has the power to do something and he is not doing it, specifically in the case that is a reference of this show, which is a case where there is public celebration of corruption in the case of that Thanksgiving. But before I can run the analysis, we need to first know that there is a debate whether it was public celebration of corruption, because the comments, and as you use that analogy, he says that it is in the heart of a father to forgive. In this case, talking about Honorable Cici, that is at the moment facing trouble with the judiciary with regards to the attempted bribery charges that are on her, where she wanted a part of the budget of the Uganda Human Rights Commission. So the question is, okay, was it public celebration of corruption, or was it a revelation of the character of the president to the extent that he can work with people who are corrupt for as long as they are in his interest? So I think the bigger issue is she's celebrating the way the establishment is working, and I think she has worked closely with the president from the times when she was leading as a deputy chair of a committee of parliament to her becoming deputy speaker and speaker. And I think it was a statement on how it has been normalized by the NRM for them to forgive people who are corrupt and even give them more positions. So to that extent, then that is a public celebration of corruption, and that's what I wanted to deal with. The second that I wanted to still deal with is the comment from Honorable Chinyamatama, who says that it is okay for someone to steal for as long as they are sharing with you. So for example, let me use like an analogy for the viewers. It's okay for your father to go and steal for as long as you are eating that food they have stolen. Now let me go to the first case scenario. The public celebration of corruption by the NRM government by awarding officials who have been engaged in corruption more political positions. Two, by not punishing those that are involved in corruption legally as the Constitution prescribes, is not a good thing. Why is it not a good thing? It is not a good thing because history has shown us from history that people who go ahead to celebrate such inhumane actions, even when they continue to do it and citizens seem like they are okay with it and not rising up, there is going to come at a point in time when citizens are tired. And this is why I wanted to reference like the actions that are happening in Kenya, the actions that happened in the Arab Spring in Tunisia, the actions that happened in Egypt, the actions that happened in the Candlelight Revolution. There will come a time when citizens get tired that people are not doing enough, where citizens simply say, enough is enough. Even if it means us putting our lives on the line, let us do so. So the precedence it sets is that it radicalizes those whom you are mocking. Yeah? And that is not good for a country which is interested in stability such that the economy continues to grow. It is in the interest of the NRM party to continue to grow tough on corruption. And this public sentiment is going to cost them a lot in the next election. It is going to cost them a lot to the extent that they will, maybe towards the elections, simply leave some of the people who were previously supporting corruption in order to perhaps still maintain that public stance. Secondly, on the case of Honorable Chinyamatama, I think, is basking in political power, and she thinks she has the protection of the Speaker, of the PLU, and the Major General Kainerugaba. And you see, with that kind of protection, you become very careless with your language. But what should be very clear is that it is principally wrong to steal. Whether you are stealing for whatever you are calling a good cause, whether you are stealing to redistribute those resources to your people, in principle, it is bad to steal. And you cannot say that because the end is good, then we should ignore the means. That is a species or a theory of morality that is the most unpopular, where people ignore the means and quality of the actions they are doing and only concentrate on the end. That is what undergirds things like terrorism, because they want to commit murder in order to have like a political end. That is what undergirds things like corruption, because they want to be rich. They ignore the fact that the quality of the means they are using is bad, and then they focus on the broader end. And that in principle is wrong in this life and the next. We cannot celebrate it, and we need to stop that. I'm going to stop there to allow that.
No, if you had something to...
The third one.
The third one, you can conclude.
The
It's
third
okay.
one is about the psychometric analysis of leaders. Now, there is a popular quote which says that power corrupts those that are involved in it. But those that have studied psychology say that actually it is people that corrupt power. The analysis under that is that power attracts the most pathological qualities. People who are thirsty for power, people who are greedy for more. And because some of those people have like a lot of charisma, they can easily lie and they sleep. And they can easily steal, and then they still sleep. They can easily give money to their children and think that is parenting which they have stolen. Because my question is, why would someone publicly celebrate something which is wrong? Why? What is in their mind?
It is wrong to you, not to them. That is why they are celebrating, I think.
Exactly, and
that's the point.
That's what we are studying. What is in their psychology? Yeah, and it links back to the analysis of, I think there is something fundamentally wrong with their psychology. Do you know, like someone who like does murder, like gruesome murder, like someone who attempts aggravated rape, and I think you are a lawyer, in their mind, they have lost the conscience that that very action is wrong. And society calls them bad, and as a result, they have a place where they need to go and be rehabilitated. And that place is normally called the prison for some time. The actions that are being seen by readers at the moment, they really qualify to be in places where they need to be rehabilitated, because what we saw in that public celebration of corruption is a testament that we are no longer being read by people who deserve to be in public office. They deserve to be in any other rehabilitation facility, whether it just has to be outside the political setup. And I think the voters will be arrived to make sure that at least they withdraw them from those political offices. That's my political theory. Or at least there will be a time in the future where these specific people who now, unfortunately, we gave them that power because we saw charisma in them, we saw a lot in them. At one point in time, maybe we will be even dead, but at one point in time, it will be recorded that something went wrong. And I've seen people who even die, but even when they have died, we still hold them to account. Because the actions they did cannot simply seem to be legitimate. It will be a time T. It could be 40 years from now, it could be 30 years from now, but the accountability will come. You know, like in the Nuremberg trials after the Holocaust. Even when those people who committed those crimes had died, those trials had to happen, at least to make a political statement that some actions should never be normalized as political culture. And if the NRM does not do that, it will be remembered in history. We shall have like a corruption museum of like some of the most gruesome corruption acts that have ever happened in African history.
Thank you, Joseph. Winfred, we have a speaker of the parliament, the temple of democracy, which is really the collective representation of the views and aspirations of the Ugandan people, standing up on a public platform to glorify corruption. But what is rather unique or strange is the fact that this coming against a backdrop of strong agitation from the public to push back against corruption, especially in parliament, and also the president reaffirming his commitment and capacity to deal with corruption in the country. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much. First, personally, as me, Winfred, I would be more surprised with a person who would be surprised with such comments coming from Anita. I would be surprised. Not, that is what Anita is supposed to speak. We have two things here. We have bad manners, and that is where Anita stands. Anita has bad manners. And we should not be surprised when she speaks. Such things comes out of her mouth. I was on this platform, and Anita is not our problem. It is the bad governance we are having in the country. That is at play. Anita, as Anita, sorry, I'm not calling her honorable. I respect her as a woman. I respect her as a mother. I respect her as a leader who leads those who believe in her. But she's no longer one. First, Anita, like I've said, has bad manners. That is why she's trying hard to fight back with force. Two, personally, before I go to the deeper of the answering the question, second, Anita is still a captive of her young self. You know, as feminists, we believe in healing your young self. And I believe Anita has not done that. When I look at Anita, I see, I remember that president says she's ambitious. And yes, and it would be, but I think it's the opposite. She's naive. I believe she grew up saying I was on this forum where I tried to analyze her childhood. And of recent, she put out an article on how she grew. And I believe in her, because of whatever went on in her life and in her community, she had, and she still have in her, she really wanted to rule over men. Yes, which might be okay, but again, because she has not healed from her childhood trauma, her bad manners are overtaking other good actions she would have. You get? And she has accepted continuously to have her bad manners suppress the other bit of her, because there are things she has done good, I believe, to her other people. I believe putting that hospital there away, and a discussion around the theft of the money, where she got the money from, would be another discussion. But as a woman, where women are going to go and get free service, I believe that is a good cause. But her problem, she's failing to suppress her bad manners. She's failing to not to let her bad manners overtake the other good side of her. That is why she can stand up publicly. For me right now, when I say Anita speaking, I see her, she's not speaking, she's speaking to fight back the citizens who are trying to fight corruption, who are contributing. She's trying to silence. Me, when I had that, I saw in her, when I was looking in her eyes, I saw in her, what best can I say to silence the audience, to silence the people who are saying that corruption can be fought. But again, Anita is just recalling to me, I feel she's just re-echoing what the president said at the opening of the hospital. The president clearly said in his remarks that for us in NRM, we help and talk to those who have done mistakes. It is the same statement Anita is saying out, but using different words. So Anita is just re-echoing, like in a different way, the president's words.
So we should, and attitude about
so we should, as we blame Anita, me, I personally, like I've told you, I am not surprised with her remarks. But again, when I go back to the remarks the president made, that for them in NRM, their people just make mistakes and they helped them. He was very clear. For us in NRM, we help our people in NRM who have made mistakes. Later on, he added on, those other people who don't need to be helped are those people working with the Westerners. He never said that people in NRM, there are people who don't need to be helped and they need to be in jail. No, he was very clear. So Anita is just re-echoing. What again I have to also bring to our attention. We now in May, when they were talking about towards the end of May, and I think Semujunganda was presenting the minority report, when they were talking about donations. And Semujunganda went ahead, I've forgotten the amounts. When he reached on the speaker, for him he was just reading. The speaker told Semuju, Honorable Semuju, first stop there.
Really? On the floor of Parliament?
Yes. He asked on the floor of Parliament. This is what Anita's, how Anita's destroyed the floor, the Parliament. He's told him first stop there. She asked openly on the floor of Parliament, if any of you, it was like how Jesus was telling those people, if any of you has not sinned, let them stone this what? This woman who had committed adultery. Anita told Speaker Honorable Semujunganda, please stop there. And she boldly asked Member of Parliaments, if any of you has not benefited from my basket of donation, let the person stand up. She clearly told them, I have, she was even doing the
head counting.
I have given each one of you money out of this basket. And if any one of you is saying no, let them stand up. Did any stand up? No. And to me as a citizen, what do I pick out of that? That, okay, Anita came to accomplish some project. Which project is that? I am yet to find out. Me, I will sit and just sit there and analyze. But to me, I feel when Anita came on board, she was on a mission. Still, I'll go back on the president's remarks during her when the president was launching the hospital. The president took us through how he managed to recruit Anita to Parliament, to NRM. He gave us a background. Sorry to take you back, to take us back, but I'm just reaffirming that what Anita did in Rengo, he was just trying to do some of her mission. The president told us how she met Anita Mongo. It was still in Bukedia on his rally. And again, he told us by that time those two ladies were putting on the yellow. They were two ladies. But again, he met her again. He loved her passion. And again, the president met Anita Mong in Parliament when they were electing the speaker then. That was Anita was now on the side of Medi Nsedeko, is it? And President had Muhammad Nsedeko, and the president had come on for speaker Kadaga. Then Kadaga. And because the president had loved her passion back in Bukedia, he had to call her Now I'm trying to show you that this woman, they say that according to the president, she was ambitious. But remember, for me, that is where I'm getting back to the young Anita, who has in her, had something she has to accomplish, but because she has not healed that young self, she's crashing with her own self and later messing up. The president told us, confessed that she didn't give her any trouble to recruit her during that day. But the only thing Anita told the president, right now, if I accept your offer, you also not, if I change right now from Muhammad, from Sedeko to Kadaga, you'll also not trust me. Let us wait. So they made a deal there and then. Yes, the deal was complete there and then. However much Anita was not going to support Kadaga, but it shows that she had accepted to now reverse to NRM. It is a long story. I don't want to go in depth of like so much in it. But that shows you that even when she went and visited the president's farm, according to the story of, if you go back, I urge you the citizens to go back and listen to that, those who can understand English. The problem now we are having is also, most of our people, sometimes citizens fail to interpret such conversations, such speech for the president because of the language. Because now it's in English and that language in Mukedia. So some of us, yes. So some of us who only understand Luganda, Lusoga, Lunyankole, I am sorry for that. But those who can go back and analyze, you will see that Museveni, the president, saw that this is an ambitious woman. There is a project. That is why I feel, for me, there is a project that Anita is there to accomplish. Yes. And when I go back to the parliament, the floor of parliament, where I told you, she stood up and said, can anyone stand up? And my question is, has Anita tried to make sure that he makes every member of parliament, or even 90% of the member of parliament, touch into the dirty basket? From that, I would say yes. And someone to tell me no, I would be like, okay. Still, I'll go back to Rengo. When Anita made that speech, yes, it is what she wanted to make. And again, accompanying that, she was giving money. She told the person, put that money out of the envelope. Just glorifying corruption, just showing the viewers that, you know what, you people, we are here to stay and corruption is here to stay. That is, to me, that is the message I was getting from her speech. So
it was deliberate?
It was. It was. I've taken you back to the president's speech. I have taken you back to the floor of parliament in May. And again, the second speaker, Chinyamatama, for her to come and say the people, to me, I still go back to now to her speech. I take it back to what the speaker said in parliament. Of you people who has not eaten, not eaten, any of you, if I've not given you part of this notion, come out. For her, it is just like reverse psychology. They're trying to play a game on the citizens of Rengo. You get? To now hold them accountable that, you know what? Sise has eaten. It means that you have also eaten. You're supposed to be in prison like her. Yes? Now you start, remember these are vulnerable people who I need. We've seen in May, the town clerk of Rengo stood out and said the problems Rengo is having. They have health care issues. They have education. The education sector in Rengo has issues. Poverty in Rengo is high. And he said the problem why Rengo is that it is in May this very year. The problem in Rengo is because of division of, it was around political, that is what the remarks from the town clerk. Because they are divided politically, that is why the place is not growing. So for this other MP to go there and say that to these vulnerable persons, yes, they are trying to hold their mind captive. Yes, they are trying, in fact, to me, as a human rights defender, I would feel that I feel bad for these vulnerable persons. For a member of parliament to go and stand. That is why one of the
As you sum up, Winnie.
Yeah, was it Semujunganda or Besigye who said that our problem of Uganda are the elite persons? They are our problems. So for me, as I conclude, is like how I've taken us. We just need to, when Anita Monk speaks something, we just need to go back and check the president. Check the president his speech. And I will say Anita is not the problem. The problem is the governance. We see corruption. Corruption is an indicator of bad governance. We have seen, because we have seen, yes, corruption, we have people in prison, but we have many who have not gone there and they've been corrupt. We have a problem with the rule of law. Yes, human rights issues, violence of human rights issues in the country, infrastructures like inefficiency in deliverance of public service, that is women are dying in hospital, you see potholes in Kampala, so Anita is not our problem. And we need to strategize differently on how we are going to fight corruption than fronting Anita's remarks. Our problem is bad governance. Anita's problem is she has bad manners. She only needs help.
We'll come back to you. Apollo, yes. We are trying to contextualize the remarks of the Right Honorable Speaker as she delivered them in Rengo. But one thing that I think has stood out for me is the boldness with which the political class is really, reinforcing this glorification of corruption, because it's not only Anita. There is Chinyamatama, there is the Rengo LC5 chairman, Chitata. I don't know if you've watched that clip as well. So you realize that Uganda's political class is really now turning very arrogant, very insensitive to the democratic sensibilities of the Ugandan citizen. They believe that they are above the law, they are not accountable to anyone. So what does this really portend for the fight against corruption? Because we have a president now that is saying, I am now going to Kujaya Gomubuto. Let me say so that I send the point home. Yourself. Yes, that I am now going to renew my youthful vigor to fight the corrupt. But what is really happening?
I appreciate the submissions from my colleagues, and I associate myself with their views. They call it a public glorification of corruption and evil, and it's true. But to me, I think it's much more than that. It is, to me, it was a public display of the obnoxious character of our leaders, and also an opportunity. To me, it was an opportunity for Ugandans to clearly understand what's at the back of the minds of their leaders. Because me, I believe what they were saying is what they believe in. What they said is what they believe in. And it's really, really unfortunate. And you are a lawyer, Isaac. Me, I also look at it as an act of prejudice to the proceedings that are already in court. Because if Honorable Sise Namuju is already in court on suspicion that she was involved in corruption, and actually she's in on remand, not out, she's in on remand, and a prominent leader comes out to say, you know what, I have spoken with the president, the head of state, whom we know that he has the authority, he has the powers of the prerogative of mercy, he has all that.
And the previous
he has the powers over the judiciary even. And then you publicly tell everyone that, you know what, don't worry. Sise Namuju will soon come back to you. yet the proceedings are still going on. I sense that that's an act of prejudice to the proceedings in court, which is also very unfortunate. But again, like I said, what they were saying is what they feel at heart, that corruption should no longer be something we should worry about. It should be actually, it should be, to me it was an endorsement of corruption, that look, if you can steal and come and share with your people, it's okay. So that's how unfortunate it is. And I also look at it as another act of impunity, which undermines the efforts of the president. The president is out telling everyone that now I've opened and declared the war on corruption, and you here you're saying no, corruption is okay as long as you can bring back and share with your people. So there are many dimensions to
perhaps they know, sorry to interject you, perhaps they know that the president doesn't mean what he really says to the public.
That one I cannot tell, but what I know and what I have heard is that the president has declared a war on corruption, and we have been waiting to see how far he can take this war. You get it? But then if you have his subordinates now, fellow leaders, coming out to make statements that undermine the declared war on corruption, then I first condemn them or condemn their acts for not being loyal actually to their president, because we would expect that now that the president has spoken, then we should be seeing other people following, other leaders below him following suit and propagating the message of fighting corruption, and that should be the ideal. But now, I think it is to the president, it's an act of betrayal by his own fellows in government. And I am waiting to see how the president reacts to these statements, because the president should come out. The president should come out and make a statement in response to these statements, because then if you declare the war on corruption, and then your fellow leaders are saying, making statements to the contrary, then I think it's not so good.
The next day he made a statement.
Yeah, but again, it also tells you something about Parliament, because we have severally talked about Parliament, and it is Parliament now that is in its own spot for cases around corruption. Members of Parliament are being summoned, quizzed, arrested, and remanded. And then the leadership of Parliament is also, making those statements, I think, which is not good, and it undermines the whole spirit of fighting corruption. But again, in Parliament, it also tells us how things now are being done in Parliament. You remember Honorable Matama had a case against Francis Zake, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Metiana Municipality. And not only Honorable Matama, but even the Right Honorable also had a case with Honorable Zake. Me, I see those statements and what was at display in Rengo as exonerating Honorable Zake, because Zake was saying some of these people we have in Parliament maybe are not worthy to be where they are, and now like I said in the beginning, it is from what we had and what we saw, the true character of these people now are coming out. Now you see how it is. That is why I made a comment somewhere that now, if I'm to list the best members of parliament now, not in the cardinal laws of parliament we know, but if I'm to look at the best members of parliament, I would also list Zaki in those on my I include him on my list there, because I presume he foresaw what we had not seen in the beginning. That look, the people we have around us maybe are not good to that level where we think they are. I as a Ugandan who is passionate about, passionate on seeing good leadership, good governance, accountable leadership and governance, I think it's a setback. And like I said, I would again appeal the president to come out and make a response in his speeches about this this incident that undermines his effort in fighting corruption.
Thank you, Apollo. Focus on Parliament now takes a short break. When we return, we continue the discourse on the remarks made by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament in Rengo, which has turned out to now inflame the embers in support of corruption. See you back shortly.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back. In this segment, we discuss and evaluate the continued suitability of the Right Honourable Anita Among to serve in the High Office as Speaker of the Ugandan Parliament. This, of course, in light of the remarks that she made in Rengo district, which brazenly and publicly glorified corruption. Joseph, I am starting with you once again. And across the border, on the eastern frontier of the country, in Kenya, we've seen young people come up to rise and protest strongly against what they term as, unaccountable and poor leadership of President William Ruto. And under the spotlight is the Parliament, which passed a very punitive taxation policy. The President has yielded to the demands of the population, and he has rescinded and withdrawn that bill before he could assent to it. So, in relation to the events that are happening today in the country, first and foremost, do you think the Speaker is really still competent in the eyes of the Ugandan citizen to discharge her duties as the chairperson of that house? And what do you think could be the possible reaction from the citizenry in response to her remarks?
So first, she doesn't care about the citizens because in principle it is not the citizens that elected her. We can say a democracy also involves indirect democracy, which is that we elect our representatives and then our representatives elect the speaker. But away from that hogwash of political theory, you in Kabare, you in Nakapilipiti, did you consent to you to voting the speaker? The idea of democracy assumes that the decisions which our leaders take on our behalf represent what is at our heart. Unfortunately, anywhere around the world, that is not true, and still that links back to the case study you bring. The Kenya Kwanza coalition had passed that bill because the party and the coalition wanted it to pass, not because the electorate wanted it. That's the very nature of democracy. It creates the semblance that citizens' views are being heard through them voting their leaders. But in principle, when these leaders get power, they don't make the consultations. And this is where civil society becomes important. This is where I think our colleagues who are in the media, civil society, where they come in to assert the citizen voice beyond the election. Because more often than not, politicians only remember about what is important for their citizens only when it benefits them, and normally that is towards the election. So democracy has always been a tyranny, yes, of the minority, especially those who are in power, against the majority, especially in instances where the vote has already happened. It's a tyranny of the majority at the election, but in the event that people go into power, that small ruling class becomes a tyranny of the minority, and whatever they want is what moves forward. So back to your question, do the citizens look at her as competent? Absolutely not. But do they even have a direct social contract with her? Absolutely not, because it's not like they allowed her to be elected. Did your MP come to consult you on who should be speaker between Honorable Semujunganda and Honorable, let's say, Olanya, and subsequently Honorable Anita Among?
Certainly not.
And I want to think even your answer is no. So I don't think the idea whether citizens want him in office or not is a matter. Otherwise, if that was the case, she would no longer be speaker at a point in time when we looked at those parliament files that were wreaked on the incompetent management of parliament, or perhaps the deliberate running of parliament as a private enterprise rather than one that follows rules of procedure, that follows known public finance management principles that are enshrined in the PFMA Act of 2015. So it does not matter, yeah, for as long as she serves the interests of the NRM party, even if she steals half that budget, even if she pretends a parliament which hands a quarter of that budget back to the coffers of the first family, then that family will back them in the next election. So it doesn't matter whether citizens are supporting her or not. That is broadly inconsequential. But will there come a time when, let's say, citizens rise up, like in Kenya? The possibility is a bit less. There's a video which was released by a political commentator. He's a comedian, you know them, Uncle Mo on YouTube, I think, today morning, around a comparative analysis between like the behavior of Ugandans in riots and the behavior of Kenyans in riots. In 2021, when over 50 people had to return to their creator because they were protesting in a manner which was looked at as some sort of uprising, yeah? That's in downtown Kampala, in other regions around the country. The state made a very, very huge political statement, which is that you protest at the cost of your life. In Kenya, we saw Gen Zs, they were taking selfies with army officers, they were climbing on trucks. In Uganda, even the thought of it invites as much violence as it needs to invite. So I don't know at what point we'll get to a time when we say enough is enough, but at least in the last demonstrations we have had, the state has categorically made it clear and amassed enough forces of violence and coercion to the extent that through the law, for example, through the implementation of the Public Order Management Act, but also through amassing a lot of coercion power, which, by the way, they use. You see, in Kenya they have it, but they have a bit of they have a bit of restraint.
Restraint.
Here, these people actually have shown that they can use it. Yeah, in Kenya, you see they had a death toll. And this is, they invaded parliament, right? Now, last time, these people were simply in downtown, just burning posters, and over 50 people died. Imagine our Ugandans move to, that death toll is likely to be really heavy, yeah? But I'm not sure even where they would cross Kampala Road, or whether they would come from down. I think it would still be subsided. But the idea is that our politics, especially with regard to the application of violence, we have had a history of a lot of violence from the times of Idi Amin, from times of Obote. I think Ugandans consciously have accepted their operation to the extent that they can only talk about it. And that's why anyone who brings forth the idea that let's go to the street, they're like, you go, we shall pray for you. Yeah. Whereas in Kenya, it's a bit different. I think that democracy has kind of improved and it is able to like attract a certain level. I pray we get to that kind of political consciousness where protest culture is revived. I don't know politics without an active protest culture, whether that's very good politics.
Thank you, Joseph. Winfred, we are fast approaching towards the new electoral season in 2026. The Speaker is currently the chief spokesperson and, of course, chair of parliamentary proceedings. You could also say effectively she's, the collective embodiment of the entire parliament. Therefore, her opinion is really significant, especially on matters governance. Now that she has endorsed the evil practice of corruption, do you envisage a response from the population come 2026, especially with respect to her position first as a representative for her constituents, but also on a broad scale affecting all these other members of parliament who have been implicated adversely in corruption scandals? What is your forecast of the impending political situation come 2026?
It is very tricky. First of all, we see we are seeing the power of social media. And we have seen at least with a growing number of people now really fighting corruption. And that picture will somehow show us that these people will not come back in parliament. But still, we have to remember that there are very many people who are not on social media. Very many people in Uganda are poor. You get it? This government, one thing they've done, they've kept us in poverty. However much they're saying they're fighting poverty. You get it? Very many people are captives are still in that vicious cycle of poverty. We might think of the Nyoga, the parish model that government has put there to fight poverty. But remember, the people still managing these projects are people in government, and still the system in that is also corrupt. And why do you think people elect corrupt leaders? Mostly because during even the process of election, there is still corruption. Because in Uganda, corruption is normalized. You get it? We condemn people who say that who take bribes from people contesting. But we need also to put ourselves in the shoes of such people. People have not eaten. Yes, like in Bukedia, when you go down there or even read around social media, you will see that very many people there are suffering. At the time election, I'll come and say that you people don't allow bribes, but remember, I am just using my mouth to sensitize, to create awareness and tell people don't accept bribes. But I am speaking to a person down there at the grassroots who has not eaten supper, yes, who is sleeping on ground. You get it? And that is where I say this government is keeping us in poverty so that they can, at the end of that, they easily do what? manipulate the voters into someone has not eaten, they are giving them a kilo of rice, and the person will vote. Yes, we say this, the voters are doing a wrong thing to take the bribe, but we are not also thinking about, yes, because when you go back and look at and you put the human face on everything, people are poor. People are taking those bribes not because people are voting these bad leaders like Anita Mong, like other leaders, not because they want, but because they've gotten something to eat that day. Yes, that is why they're doing it. And that is why I said it is tricky at the end. At the end, who are the voters? Yes, the fight is on. Yes, it has been publicized. But remember, first of all, it's on social media. Most language which is being used. And yes, even down there when people understand, the voters, when they really understand that, okay, we are voting this person who has caused a lot of loss to our country. At the end of that day, she's going to give them. You'll see people bribing too. We have, in Uganda, we have so much, this fight fight for liberty, we have so much tribal, like we have made it tribal. We put in the game of tribalism. You get it? You hear at the end of the day, people will come out and say, that is how somehow people when speaker was speaking to the people of Reo, they try to start corrupting the mind of the vulnerable persons. Yes? And Namuju she's Namuju. Namuju has been eating with you. Then later they'll say, people are fighting the people, they are fighting the progress of where? Of Rengo. And now they'll remember in, is it still May or March, when President was in Rengo, and he gave them 200 million. When they were doing there was a Muslim.
Oh yes.
Yes, and
yes, it's initiative.
Yes, it's good. It's good that the president gave their money, but again, that is, sometimes we look at those things, but that is corruption. To me, it is. Since the president, yes, since the president. The government is supposed to see that such areas have hospitals. Yes, let the government give in to build the Muslim hospital. Not President Museveni and as Museveni. That is corruption. And it's going and speaking there and giving money publicly. That is corruption. The minds of the people. Now let's see. He went there to launch the foundation. You will see that most MPs are having a foundation in that area. It is very okay. But how do we now differentiate the money that is given to help the constituency and then the money, people having foundations in their areas, and then they're bringing in support through the foundations? To me still, I'll say this is now the kind of, everything, every bad manners, we find a way of dressing it better. So how are the members of parliament trying to dress corruption better to bribe the voters? It's through the foundations they are putting there. You get it? And then the foundations will be the one offering like services. Yes? Bursaries will be coming through the foundations. So if you're not the support of that a member of parliament, you're
excluded.
They'll be now the one working, So now these MPs, these corrupt members of the government of MPs are trying to dress the bad manners, the corruption, the bad governance, the human rights violation. They are trying to dress it in a better way. So it is very tricky because the perpetrators are they're also smart. They also sit in those meetings they tell us they go into. They are not going there to strategize for us. No, they are going to strategize on how better they can play their game. So it is tricky. When you think about the person down there who doesn't have food, people are looking for money to take their children at school, women don't have medicine in the hospital, birth rate, so it is tricky because when we are speaking about the voters, it is a crucial discussion that we also look at the state of the people who are the voters. Let's avoid, sometimes when you're having discussion around voters, we are speaking from the privileged level. We are speaking from these rooms where are people taking bribe? People stop taking those things, stop allowing to be bribed to vote those wrong MPs. But we are not thinking about the state in which the person is in to take. So it is a tricky thing. People are going to vote back those corrupt MPs because of such things I've told you. They have now dressed the things in a smart way. It will take us to be more smarter than them. Like how I said in my first remark is, we need to re-strategize. As they re-strategize in forming those foundations, they are forming down there and putting our money, thinking that so that the people can think they are the ones helping. Let us strategize on how best are we going to sensitize people this coming. How are we going to put those people down there and tell them, okay, your MP is here, the person has the money, he or she has the money, but no, this person is doing this. You get it? We need also to re-strategize, because the perpetrators, these people in the position who are even perpetrators, are strategizing, and they're the people with money, they're the people in power.
Thank you, Gwen, for your perspective. Apollo, I want us to revisit the prevailing situation in Kenya by applying a media perspective. If you are to make some sort of comparative analysis for the viewer, because the media, especially the digital media, social media, has played a fundamental role in mobilizing the collective social power of the citizenry to wake up and assert their voice and demand for accountability, for fair governance. In Uganda today, certain, I should say, strong inroads have also been made, because if we are to look back at the Parliament exhibition, for example, the pothole exhibition, it has registered considerable success in as far as creating awareness and maybe boosting the political consciousness of the citizenry is concerned. But let us bring the issue of the speaker home in regards to the remarks that she made in Rengo. Going forward, what do you see? What is the likely situation for the country as we approach 2026? Are we likely to witness a response like the Kenyans have responded to such concerns? Is it going to be business as normal, especially now that even the president is seemingly concerned?
I will disagree with my colleagues, because I believe in the power of media to influence opinions and perspectives. I'm sure I've been following the ongoing collection of signatures in a bid to censure the 4 commissioners who took 1.7 billion Ugandan shillings as service awards. There is one particular incident that happened when the people of Bale in Kayunga told their MP he had gone to the constituency. They asked him, why have you not signed the censure motion? He had played an elusive game. He was trying to dodge and to ignore the whole process. Do you know what they did? They gave him a driver and told him, we want you to go with this person, which means you sign the list that will accompany the censure motion to the floor of Parliament. I'm bringing up that example to show you how now people have become politically conscious, thanks to the social media that has done a great job, and of course the mainstream media, which has been doing this all the time. We know what happened during the Arab Spring. It was social media, and over which the people were exchanging views, and it played a huge part in the Arab Spring of 2011 and 2012. And it continues to do that. Even in Kenya, you know that it is partly because Kenyans have embraced, their consciousness and their participation on digital platforms is much higher than us here in Uganda. It has it has had a hand in helping them mobilize for these undertakings. So I am very optimistic that things are changing for the better. I can only wait to see how President Museveni, like I said in the first segment, how far he will push his campaign to fight corruption, because it will have a big bearing on how the corruption fight in Uganda will be. If he loses still, then I am sure the whole war will crumble and it will not yield anything. But like I was saying, people all over Uganda now are agitated on what they hear, what they see as wasteful expenditures, people awarding themselves, and now they continue to understand that this is not government money. I think I said it last time. People have to understand that this, actually you activists, what you should keep telling people, that this is not government money. It is their money.
Your money.
Because we have that tendency of, no, it is government money, so let them. But this is your money. This is the money you pay every day. You go to buy an item from a shop. You go to buy fuel from a pump station. So I am confident that every time people get to know much more about how corruption affects them, affects the services and the service delivery process, and it also hurts them more. I like the message by Honorable Betty Kamya, and she said it from the beginning, that I want to let the common man understand, that common person to understand that corruption hurts them more than we who are in offices, because for them, they have medical insurance, privileges, they have big cars that can actually traverse every part of this country without any. Actually, even if the car breaks down, it will be repaired by government. But for you, me who ride Zaka, small car, and if it breaks down, I dig deep in my pocket to do what? To repair it. So, with the continued sensitization and awareness in the public about the dangers of corruption, I am very confident people are getting to know the hazards and the problems. And let me tell you, Isaac, don't think what happened in Kenya cannot happen here. Me, actually, I think even when Parliament comes back on Tuesday from recess, they should dedicate some time to reflect on what has happened in Kenya in relation to what is happening here in Uganda. Because people are very angry. People, the image of Parliament has deteriorated. People are angry. My brother was saying these people may not even cross Kampala Road. But let me tell you, even in other countries, that's how some people thought. People at one point didn't think that Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's government would fall. There were some people who looked at him as invincible, as a small god. Even all the dictators we know.
Mubarak,
across,
Egypt.
Yes, they grow. But there is that time he talked about which comes. And then people get fed up, and then they form that critical mass that can make things happen at one point. And we know our history. The liberation movements of 1945, 47, they were from the experiences, the people we sent here, the black people we sent to fight in wars in Europe on the side of either British or what, who witnessed events that gave them confidence that indeed we can liberate ourselves. These people we thought were demigods can also die. You get it? That inspired them. And then when they come back, the people they call the Baseveni, who fought those wars, the World War, Second World War, were taken to Europe and fought World War. When they came back, they are the ones who inspired the local people here. They said, in Africa, and they said, now people, we can chase these people. These people who are actually parasiting on our resources and our blood. So, what is happening in Kenya? Ugandans are watching. Ugandans are seeing that actually we can overwhelm. I may not support that idea of rioting to the extent of invading parliament or what, but I cannot stop it. There will be a point when people will think we can even invade parliament. We can even, let me tell you, in Kenya, I saw a clip of one MP who opposed the finance bill. When he went back to his constituency, people lifted him up in the air. They welcomed him. It was a triumphant, sight, seeing them welcome him. But let me tell you, on the other side, the people those members of parliament who sponsored the bill were being victimized. I think one member of parliament's home was invaded and burnt to ashes. So that's what I'm saying, that people here, our leaders on this side, should not underestimate the power of the people, not Ugandans, but the power of the people. When people are tired, when that critical mass is formed, then they can do anything. And especially when they feel that that is the only solution to their problem. And I think, from what I'm saying, people are looking at the election as not a way of changing leadership. They are now, many of them have lost confidence in elections, the electoral process, to change the leadership. Like he said, people did not participate in the election of the Speaker of Parliament. So they know that the Constitution will never allow them to change the leadership of Parliament. So what option are they left with? Possibly they will either, cause me, in an informal discussion, I told people, my colleagues, that let me tell you, from what I see, in the 2026 elections, some members of parliament may be roughed up in their constituencies, because now people are looking at this person as somebody who is exploiting the term to enrich himself and his family, when actually he was sent to represent their views and their interests. So now when you come back again, and then you think that just because you have money, you will be voted. Let me tell you, they will be shocked. People can actually say, no, we don't need money now. We don't want your money. And let me tell you, I can predict here, people who have been implicated in these cases of corruption, more than 50% of them will not turn back, will be returned back in Parliament in 2026. That's my prediction. Because people now know how corruption affects them, and the people who are involved in corruption now are there, they know them. Now if you come back because you think money will help you out anyway, it is only a short-term strategy to win the votes. One time people will say, no, we no longer want money, we want people. And let me tell you, we have people. I want to disagree with my colleague who said, now, it is you, who said that the political elite are the one, are now who are being involved in corruption. Not all of them, let me tell you. There are people who are still, who still believe in clean leadership, people of integrity. They are still here. but only the circumstances we operate in.
Maybe he was meaning that even by the way, even you're in that position and you keep quiet, you're already involved in corruption.
Yes, I agree, but not all of them. It was, the statement was like all the political elite have betrayed. They were attacked there.
Yes, their silence, they have betrayed us. I believe that is what he meant. Even those who have not touched the money, but they are silent and yet they can speak out. They have betrayed us. That is the reality, and I support him.
Okay, my argument is that not all of them are so evil, but some of them are still standing on the principles of integrity and good governance, and a time will come. I'm very, very confident that we will stand out and stand up and say no. We want things to be done the way we want, not the way we want.
Thank you, Apollo, for your perspective. Joseph, in summation, in relation to today's topic, what have you got to tell the viewer?
A few weeks ago, I was on Twitter and I follow one of the generals of the National Resistance Movement who's retired. He's called General Secretary, and so there was like someone who was telling them, you betrayed us, you like left, instead of like fighting Museveni, you like left. And he replied, I think with around 3 questions, but I'll just concentrate on one. It was like, why do you think your life is worth dying for? Why don't you do it yourself? The same response, I think, is what Professor Spire Sentongo responded to, even though I think Agatha Tairi from Agora. People are like, oh, but you're making noise on Twitter, but you don't want to go on ground. And still they were like, we're also waiting for the one who volunteers they arrive, such that they go on the street and they become the Muhammad Abdulaziz of Tunisia. They ban themselves. As a result, they become some sort of sacrificial lamb like Jesus. As a result, we get like the salvation of Uganda. And I think that speaks to the still what Apollo says, which is that there will come a time.
Ugandan is only lack leader.
That specific leader. And my worry is I think there are so many leaders. Let's say people like Dr. Tusiime, I think for the last 20 years, there is nothing that is, I think, on his body that has not faced the marks of the funds and possibilities of coercion that the state has. The Honorable Bobby Wine, Mr. Ruchera Basheja, we can't fail to talk about Sarah Nyanzi. So the way the state treats activists, at least, because I think these attempts, there have been so many attempts of that nature, and I think that informed the perspective of Dr. Tusiime. Recent, I think about a year or so, there's a group which was visiting his home, and I was a part of it, and he seems to still marry that very idea that elections are not a way of delivering change in Uganda, and he was trying to inspire like some sort of resistance that we need to rise up and create that change, like what happened in Tunisia, in Kenya. But then the question is that why is it that it hasn't happened yet? So how do we inspire those rebels of sacrifice? And we all know that we are running a state, or we are part of a state, where these people are not like particularly stupid. I think they know about the possibilities that can happen. And I think Museveni, or President Museveni, has over time talked about, actually has laughed it off in many international interviews. So the idea is that they are ready to crash, and normally, yeah.
But that is the literature of Muammar Gaddafi.
Exactly. So
Saddam Hussein,
and this is my point of disagreement. My point of disagreement is these specific people are not like dumb. They also expect that it is going to happen at one time. So the question is on whether people power is going to be like stronger than the plan that they have, because we can't assume they are just there waiting. Point in time, people rise up and like they disappear. Because I think Museveni is a very, very, very a good student of history. His self-preservation antennas are really high, and so the idea is, I think he's aware it may happen.
Biology is not on his side.
I totally agree with you, and that time and I think Ugandans go to some point and they said, okay, I think that level of violence we may not like accumulate it to the extent that will move the state. Right now they have started to opt for things like violence, and I still wait for that time, the honesty. I still wait for it, and on the concept of sacrifice, to see like my brother Isaac, he puts on that red t-shirt or yellow t-shirt, goes and becomes the
sacrificial.
I smell if God is possible. I'm also waiting for that time when I accumulate that. I don't want to accumulate that. That level of consciousness where you can. They said they are matching parliament. Are you going to be a part of
on 23rd?
The level of anger.
23rd.
The level of
So
anger.
we need to keep doing it such that even we are speaking about it, achieve that level of anger, and walk to parliament and have breakfast in the parliament canteen.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for the time.
Thank you,
And
Joseph.
it's a good time that all of us wait for. But for now, let's keep preaching.
Peace, son.
Yeah. Because also, and I think, forgive me, I think all of you have read Animal Farm, or like the Russian Revolution. You know, like Napoleon kept saying snowball is like bad, and then he caused like a revolution, and we all know what happened immediately after. So there's like no guarantee of success that when we have that level of a revolution, we're going to have better leadership. So we have to still be sure that we are not
We don't put the guard down.
Yeah, we don't put. We have to consciously weigh in all our options to ensure that even our pursuit of a better Uganda does not come at the cost of this very nation crashing down.
Thank you, Joseph. Winfred, your closing remarks on the program.
Before I close, I want, personally, I believe that corruption is an economic and a financial income for a big group of people. You get it? And you see NRM, the government invests so much. When you see in the budget, the budget for security, how huge it has been and how every day it's increasing. So they also know, like, they expect any time for the people to rise. So they have invested so much there. And the other thing I've seen the president invest in is divide and rule, you get, for his own selfish interest. So when we are speaking about corruption and fighting corruption, we also need to think about these people who are gaining from this corruption. It isn't only one person. That is why when people, even when the president is saying that he's fighting corruption, for me it's just pretending. He's trying to put a face and show people that I am fighting corruption. But in reality, he's trying to show people he's not fighting corruption. That is why after Anita Mong speaking whatever she spoke in Rengo, the president came out and said, in case you have any evidence, you know how he's trying to massage the situation? At least he has never picked any interest in the evidence that has been put on social media. Do you think that anyone can walk out smartly with that evidence, go to the president, could you think? No, yeah, on his statement he said he's fighting corruption, but he needs the
evidence.
At least let him try and sample. We personally, by the day, will come out and say, I am now the evidence, however much they are saying this is Rugambo, I am going to, let me use this as a sample. Yes, but he's asking us for evidence. Who is going to work there? You have seen the president on several occasions. He's going in when he was in Bukedi, I'll still take Bukedi as the example, but there are very many examples. He said in his remarks, he said, people are fighting this girl, this young girl. President was calling Anita Mong, this young girl. I remember there's even a time he phrased her as the bishop.
But he has praised the other people before.
I am. That is why I said, get me. No. Please get me right. Get me right. I said, let me take only this example. Meaning, it means that there are very many examples like the one you're giving. Yes? And let's get to my point. My point is, like I said in the beginning, Anita is just on a mission to accomplish some project. A project we don't know yet, but we'll get there and know it. So when the president stands up and says he now wants evidence, but again he goes to Bukedia and said, people are fighting this young girl. Yes? What message is he sending to these vulnerable persons who are not so much involved in politics, who don't know so much of politics? That is what I'm trying to bring out. Which message is President Museveni living in such a home? Yes? Like people are fighting your girl. This is the bishop who has served your area. And you know, you get it. So this corruption, very many people are earning from this game of corruption. Yes? And those people will fight to defend in either way, either silence or either be informant to the speaker. That is why we see that even now at today, no one is standing up. They are collecting the censor. Like I will see and I say, this thing is not going anywhere. And now the person is asking for transport to go into constituencies. These are just games played. And as I close the remarks, in my closing remark, like I started, in one of my remarks, I said, I appreciate social media. But I'm one of the persons who are even always in those social media, like meetings, like when there are spaces. But you will see that 80% of the people in today's platform is the same. You get it? I really appreciate what social media has done. And I want it to continue. But let us re-strategize and see that we also get to now, according to the census, we were 45 million. But remember, very many people were not counted. So how are we going? Because we would say, okay, if 1 million is on social media, how are we going to target the other 47? And Anita is not our problem. Anita is just a person running a project. A project which has very many people behind of it. How best are we going to strategize? Because corruption, we are talking about parliament. Very many ministries we've been hearing issues of corruption. You get it? So this is a big vice. It is a project involving very many people, and us just pinning Anita on the front line, I feel we need to re-strategize. If we are to work to have this by the end of by the time of election, to have very many people brought to the face of the voters. And when we talk about the voters, we need to. I got a chance to work when I was in my previous place of work at the bank. I got the chance to work in Bale, up country, and it was in the village. I got a chance to work around Mube and Emiti and deep down there. And when we are talking about the voters, and I also, as I appreciate social media, and I request us to re-strategize to get to the voter, I really mean it. Because that is where the thieves are going. That is where they are going to go and bribe people and lie to them that we are sharing with you. Yet they are just throwing small things. Yeah, but let's not lose hope. We are not going to lose hope. I believe one day we might not. People of Uganda might not have the courage to front themselves, and they are short. That is why I said, why do you think this government is investing more in security? To keep themselves in power. We might say that biology is not on President Museveni's side, but maybe he's already grooming the successor, and that is the reason for the security. But we are not going to give up, like they always say, never give up. We are not going to give up. Lastly, one thing that is failing us, you will see this bishop, is it Bishop Kano? The Lumumba is, what rank was he? I've forgotten. The one we always celebrate in January, who died? Janan Lum. We are lacking such. You know, really, the religious body plays a crucial part in liberating the people of any country. We lack the people like Janan. The religious leaders we have now, they are on to, we need peace. Because now they know, for me, I say, I am a believer. And I have churches I go to. But I know, we have to, in Uganda, one thing that has gone in the heads of other people, we have to protect our income. Yes? And when there is war, I believe that's income, us, the believers who go to church and pray, we are their income. So people will die. We are lacking until also the religious the religious leaders, we have people that like Jenan, who will stand up and speak. Do you know what? This is wrong. But also now that other side is what? Is quiet. And remember, they have a very big congregation in churches.
Yeah,
so if they are quiet and their yes is a yes, they're saying people vote, vote, vote. They're not talking about corruption. It is also trying to fail the efforts that are there. But we also need, if at least, even if we get one Janan in Uganda today, and they stand up and start speaking, leave alone this where people say on someone like, you people, corruption is not good, you people don't. No, we need someone who is going to speak from the religious, the heads of our religion. We need someone who is going to boldly speak to power. And I believe if also we get those persons who are going to speak boldly to power, it will also increase in it will also add value to the fight. Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you, Winfred, for your views. Apollo, in sum, in relation to today's topic, and of course a message for the citizenry out there.
No, my message is a message of hope. I said, I'm confident that things will turn around for the better. As a person who has been politically conscious, actually I'm a political writer, that's my specialty. I write only and only politics, nothing else. For the last 12 years I've been doing so. And I speak politics, I follow politics. I know that what the people want now, who are in government and those who are corrupt, what they want is for us, the population, to reach a level where we become hopeless, where we get to think that now we cannot do anything. That's what they want. They want us to believe that we have no power. They want us to believe that one who has the gun can do anything. But let me tell you, Isaac and our fellows, our fellow viewers there, the Gen Z that you've seen in Kenya, who have actually not stopped their fight, even when the president said, no, I'm withdrawing, and I'm ready to even delete the whole bill.
They told him it's too late.
They are saying no.
You must go.
Must go now.
The one other challenge we have is Ugandans have been through chaotic times, and they have that fatigue of wars and conflicts. Like, for instance, the people of northern Uganda, who spent 20 years in a life of conflict and sorrow and grief. They may not now want to do what? People who witnessed the LRA war and other wars across this country, people of Luwero who witnessed the 1981-86 war. Those ones will say, we can, let's wait, let's have some rest. But let me tell you, new kids are being born now, whom will not tell the history of Luwero or the history of Konya. What they want only is good leadership that can extend quality services to them because they pay taxes. Now that is the generation you've seen in Kenya. And it is coming up. the latest census report showed you that even more than 70% are young people who are below the age of 38. Now, those ones you will not tell them, or you will not intimidate them with guns. They don't know about the war. They are children of this regime. They don't know about the war. They have gone to universities. They are well educated, but they can't see jobs. They can't find jobs. And now they know that there are opportunities, but the opportunities are actually helping very few. Actually, I want to disagree with the Honorable Winnie here.
I'm not
Yes.
honorable.
Say amen.
Amen.
It's a blessing.
She said that the corrupt, she insinuated that the corrupt are many. Betty Kamia, the Honorable IGG, told us that the people who are stealing our money are just 36,000.
And is that small?
36,000.
In proportion to the whole
No,
population.
what I mean, when I ask is that small, do you know how many people are also benefiting from that? You know, this is, you just add the dots. From that, how the roots, where do the roots go?
Isaac and our colleagues, I appeal to all who are in this fight to not let down their guard. Let's keep pushing. Let no one make you lose hope that this cannot happen. We can fight back, but they will also fight back as we fight corruption. The corrupt will also fight back. So we should be conscious of what may befall us, but it's a good fight. We must fight, and we will win, I'm sure.
Thank
Isaac,
you.
something
Yes.
small as you close. With corruption, even if it is 10 people who are being corrupt, and when mothers are dying in hospitals, when the education sector is lacking, when infrastructures, we are having problems with that, when people are dying, you can't say that. Let's just look at the IGG report that they are small numbers. As long as women are dying, as long as people are not being educated, let's look at what we are not getting from the services we are not getting, not the number of people. How much money are we losing out? Not the number of people who are being corrupt.
Those are few individuals that we can.
But how much money are we losing?
They are few.
You get it? To me it is, how much money is the country losing, and how much are we as citizens, are we suffering from those few people? That was my concern.
Thank you, Winfred, Joseph, and Apollo for your able participation on the program, and of course for your sound patriotic guidance to the citizenry out there. Once again, we appreciate you, our esteemed viewers, for keeping us company from the startup to the conclusion of this program. Much appreciation to our production unit for keeping us live on air. Please engage us on our various social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on X, we are on Instagram, and you can subscribe and watch this episode on our YouTube channel. This is the Focus on Parliament show on Civic Space TV. Be blessed. We'll see you next time.